y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I will look at the Vixen collection that's available right now from Daze. These were sent to me for review, and currently two of what I feel like are going to be fan favorites are sold out, but I definitely recommend checking it out, and I will update as soon or if they become available again. So I'll go ahead and get right into the swatches. So first up is Cruella, and this is described as an orchid jelly shade with a vibrant purple to blue to gold shifting shimmer. So this is a very bright fuchsia type shade. All of these polishes are going to be in a jelly base and then full of color shifting shimmers. So here's a quick look at that first easy coat. Again, these are jellies, so it is going to take a few coats to build up to complete opacity. I think with all of the shades today, I am going to show you 3 coats of each. So one coat does lay down a nice base. I'm going to go in and show you how it builds up with a second coat. It definitely does amp up that coverage and helps get a little bit of a smoother application for me. Adds more of those color shifting flakies, but I still was just a little bit shy of being completely opaque. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and then show you how it built up for me with a third coat. So here's a look at that third coat, and this does bring this one to pretty much full opacity. I don't recommend going in super thick with these because I did have a little bit of pooling on some of the polishes when I tried to go in for a heavier coat. So I do recommend just staying nice and thin with these. It's really going to allow the polish to dry quickly too, so 3 coats is really no issue. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle in that direct sunlight. So next up is Maleficent, and she's described as a teal green jelly shade with a vibrant hot pink to purple to gold shifting shimmer. So this one is really beautiful. I will go ahead and say I do feel like this is the thinnest of the collection, maybe a little bit on the sheer side. I'm going to show you 3 coats, but I think I would recommend going in for a 4th with this one. But I think that color combination, again, is totally worth it. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one does go on nice and smooth like a typical jelly. It's pretty sheer here, and also just a little bit of that bright hot pink shimmer, but it does come through beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. You can see that's already getting a little bit of depth there, a little bit more coverage, but it's still pretty sheer. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry. If you wanted to, you could always use an undie under this one as well to help cover up any visible nail line. So here's a look at my third and final coat for today, and it does really add to that depth and add to that color pigment, but I did still have a good bit of nail line showing. I do have a really strong nail line, so if that's not an issue for you, that may not be an issue with this polish. So here's a look from a different angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. And this is my final swatch photo at an angle in that direct sunlight. So next up is Evil Queen, and honestly this is a surprise favorite for me. This is described as a bronzy brown jelly shade with a vibrant gold to green to blue shifting shimmer. So under certain lightings I was able to get maybe a little bit more of a red pool from that bronzy base. It really reminds me of fall apples. Super pretty. There's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Evil Queen swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Again, this one does start out fairly sheer as well. You do get a ton of those glitters. I got a lot of green and gold from this angle, so I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. So here's a look at that second coat. I did get a ton more flakies on that second coat. Definitely, again, adds to that depth and that opacity, but it was just a little bit sheer, so I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and show you how it built up for me with my third and final coat. So here's a quick look at that, and that does pull this polish completely opaque. You get tons of flakies here. I'd be really interested to see how this looks matte as well. This just gives me strong fall vibes, and I love it. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle underneath that direct sunlight. So now we're getting into the polishes that are unfortunately sold out at the moment. So first up is Ursula, and she is described as a cool violet jelly shade with vibrant gold to green to blue shifting shimmer. You guys, this polish is so incredibly shifty. Under certain lightings, that jelly base is going to look more blue and more purple, and also you're going to get a ton of shifts from those flakies. So if it ever comes back in stock, I definitely recommend it, or if you come across it in a D-stash maybe. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Again, this one does start out a little bit sheer, but it does come in strong with all of those color shifting flakies. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with the second. So the second definitely adds more of that purple vibe to it. You get a little bit more depth and a little bit more coverage, coverage, but it was still a little bit sheer for me. So I'm going to go ahead, let that dry, and then show you how it built up with my third and final coat. So here's a quick look at that. That does push this one right to the edge of being completely opaque. I did still have a little bit of nail on, but honestly, those flakies are doing so much magic on the nail, you're not even going to notice it. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats at an angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. And this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Yzma, and this polish is described as a royal blue jelly shade with a vibrant orange to green shifting shimmer. I do honestly feel like this is the more opaque polishes of the collection, and you also get a ton of really gorgeous shimmer. This is definitely another top pick for me. If you can get this polish on your hands, I definitely recommend it. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Again, this one does start out a little bit sheer, but it does build up a beautiful base here. You already get tons of those warm orange and green shifting flakies on the nail. I'll go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. So 2 coats, again, adds a little bit of depth and some more of those flakies. It was just a little bit sheer for me here though, so I'm going to go ahead and take the time to let this dry and then show you how it builds up for me with a third coat. So here's a look at my third and final coat. Honestly, I feel like this polish may be a little bit thicker as well, which just definitely helps with the application for me because I do like to go in for those thicker coats. But 3 coats for sure brings this polish completely opaque. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. You may actually be able to see some nail line there. And this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same natural sunlight. So that does wrap up my swatch and review of the Vixen collection. Again, these are available right now. I'll go ahead and link her temporary storefront down below. If you're interested in seeing any more photos of any of the polishes shown today, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can also follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.